something, to make the world a better place. What exists because of you?
Yes.
And if you can't answer that question, what exists because of you, you should seek to try and answer that.
Good morning, YouTube. Charles here. I'm in Berlin right now, and I want to use that opportunity to introduce today's interview, because I normally talk about nutrition, health and exercise, but today I want to share this interview that I did with one of my favorite authors and mentors of mine. His name is Zan Perrion. He's the author of the book The Alabaster Girl, and in today's video we talked about masculinity, how to become a better man, how to become a man on his purpose. We also talked a little bit about dating, because he's originally coming from the area of dating and relationships. And I really love this interview because it really resonated a lot with my life situation right now, and I also know it will with all of you guys. So thanks a lot for watching. If you want to know more about Zan, check the description below. All the links are there. His books is also there. And yeah, thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you soon. First of all, again, thanks for taking the time. I'm the first time in Bucharest, and I remember that you're here. You gave me an invitation when we were in Zurich with Carlo, and I was like, yeah, why not just ask? So I want to start off with a life advice you gave to Carlo, and it really resonated with me, because you told him, I just paraphrased, you said something like, life is like a dark room and there are like stairs, and you don't really know if there's a next stair coming. Mm-hmm. But with your life philosophy, with your experience, you told him, don't worry, there's always a next step, you just need to trust.
Yeah, if you put your foot into nothing, it'll always hit something.
Yes.
If you take that step, and we're all waiting to have a bunch of money saved or have everything figured out. If you just put your foot into nothing, it'll always land on something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this really resonated with me, because I know you were living in Canada, right, for a long time in the forest?
Yeah. I lived in Canada, had a corporate job there, and one day, people know my story, but one day I went back into the virtual forest of the world, which is the cities of the world. I'm sneaking through the forest again when I was a kid.
Yeah. Something that I also started to do, I saw your interview with your Norwegian friend. You said everything you own fits in your backpack, right?
Yeah, like when I quit the corporate job in Canada, I reduced everything I owned down to one carry-on bag, one pair of shoes, And it's remarkable, because when you only have one pair of shoes, your mind is completely uncluttered and clear, because you have to go out. You don't decide, what shoes should I wear? This one, that's your shoes. You just wear your shoes, so you don't have the decisions.
Yeah.
You don't have the mental process, and it's simple. You just wear the same shoes no matter what.
Yeah.
It's nice.
It's funny, because you said in the interview you just own one pair of shoes, and I also just own one pair of shoes right now. I didn't even realize it. I was like, oh.
Are you on the road right now?
Yeah.
Completely on the road?
For 1 month, and then I decide if I still continue,
Okay.
But to be honest, I need to be honest with you, I'm really scared.
Good.
I'm super scared, man.
Good.
Every day I need to meditate for 1 hour just to keep me down.
You need to scare yourself now and then, and that's the problem. We're too safe and too comfort zone.
Yeah, because I also grew up in a little village, and my parents were like, get a stable job, and the similar situation as my friend Philip here. The similar situation was a couple of years ago. I was at university, and I just felt it was not authentic to myself,
Yeah.
And I dropped out a couple of years ago, and I just follow my bliss and follow my path, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's scary, but I'm alive, man.
You'll hit something, and I think every 10 years a man has to take stock of his life. You should every decade you should really evaluate everything and maybe change everything. Start a new phase of life, and see what you're made of, and and
that's true.
go out into the wilderness and do your 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness.
Yeah.
And then come back and say, what does this all mean?
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah, it's cool, because just Philip was also asking me before. He was like, Zan has this intense presence, and I also feel it right now. It's something I aspire to have when I'm older, and I was asking myself, how can I
relax? Look, I'm not intense. I'm
it's an intense relaxedness, just the flow. And I was asking myself, I'm turned 26 last month, and my vision for myself is also to have to be really grounded when I'm old, to have an intense presence. So what made you like this?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I think just the knowledge that no matter what else happens in life, at least I'm trying. At least I'm trying to live a life of adventure and live a life of relevance, When I had the corporate job and I was working for a paycheck, that feeling, that angsty feeling, that I wasn't living to my true north, I guess you could say, like, and I could feel it every day. I felt like I have money from this job. I have, nice apartment, nice car, motorcycle, but I don't have the sense of alignment with my heart, with my poetic life, my sense of adventure. I'm a treasure hunter at heart, and I want to seek treasure, and I wasn't, so I was like, so I think the knowledge that no matter what else happens, at least when I'm old, I can look back and say, at least I tried.
Yes.
Hey, I tried. So it gives me a grounding energy.
So no matter what happens,
I didn't settle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I settled for years, and I said no more.
Yeah. So you also talk about the 3 Fs, right? Like like people are motivated about. Like one is freedom, fortune.
Freedom, fortune, and fame. So we're motivated by one of those 3 Fs. I wrote about it in my book, The Alabaster Girl. Freedom, fame, or fortune. If you're motivated by fortune, you might, be an entrepreneur, and you might work 70 hours a week, and you might start businesses, and you might, become a CEO, and make millions. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a valid thing if it's aligned with who you are.
Yeah.
And if you're motivated by freedom, which I am, freedom is primary for me.
Yeah, that's big.
Freedom, and then fame, and then fortune way down there.
Same here.
So for me, freedom, like my life here, my life here in Bucharest is relaxed. I walk around the streets with my girlfriend. We have a glass of wine. We talk about art in the evening. I don't have, like even now, even though I have an apartment now, I still have everything kind of carry on ready to go. I don't have many possessions. We have a simple life. We have our friends over.
A cat?
I have a cat now. We're domestic, but I like cats, so.
Yeah.
And I am a cat, I wander around at night, like sneaking around at night, and then I come home in the morning.
Yeah. So you would say everyone should kind of think about which of these 3 is like his biggest, right?
Yeah, and then head towards that. If fortune is what really drives you and is motivating to you, that's a beautiful thing. Nothing wrong with that. Fortune is good, And if fame or freedom is your mantra, then follow that and stay to it. Then you know how your life should go.
Yeah.
Freedom for me, I'll sacrifice all fortune to have the freedom to sit here and have a coffee and relax and look out at these buildings and sacrifice it all for that.
Yeah. I also want to mention your book also in this video because it actually motivated me as well, and I wanted to tell you this in person because I realized it in retrospective. I read your book, and then I've met the girl on the streets in Switzerland, right? I talked to her, and I love to dance. So there was a street dance in public. It's like, damn, how cool would this be, a dancer in the streets,
Yeah.
And then I was like, how cool would it be if I could kiss her on the streets? I never did this, right? I was like, let's do it, man. Worked everything. She came to my place for the whole weekend, then she left for New York, right?
Okay.
I was like kind of in tears. I was like my first intense romantic experience like that, like really intense, like talking on the streets. And then I told her I will meet you in New York, right? And then I went to New York, and she had like no.
You went to New York?
Yeah, New York,
okay.
Yeah. And then she had kind of no time for me. I was a little bit too needy, like a young guy, everything.
Yeah.
And then I was there alone in New York. I was like, she has no time for me. What do I do now, right? And then I looked at the internet. One of my favorite YouTubers had a seminar. I was like, that's a sign of the universe, man. I went to the seminar. I talked to another guy in the public, which was also a YouTuber, who was also a YouTuber, and I basically became friends with him. And now I will meet him again. I work for him just because I had this intense experience with this girl. This
exactly.
I was like, this is like the alabaster, like in the book. Like.
Have the phrase I put in my book is like everything and everyone prospers me now. It means everything that happens to you, including meeting that girl, took you to New York, which made you meet that guy. It prospered you in some way.
Yes.
Everything that happens to you and every person that you meet will increase you in some way if you're seeking. If you're if you're just wandering through life, then you don't pick up on any of this, this energy, the signals. But if you're a seeker in life and you want to know, and you want a path and a path of adventure and a path of relevance to your life, everybody you meet and everything that happens to you will add to that story.
Yes.
That's incredible. That's what happened with you.
Yes, yes. And I realized retrospective, like it's like in the book of the Alabaster Girl, man.
Exactly.
Because funny enough, then I was in Taiwan with my friend that I've met in New York, and I've met another girl at the airport.
Yeah.
I talked to her, and besides her, there was no one sitting. I was like, let's just sit beside her till someone comes. No one was coming. 14-hour flight. And then I was again like thinking about what would be the coolest story, to kiss her in the plane or not.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of did the move. I visited her in Berlin. She's from Berlin, and I've met this guy in Berlin.
So then you met him at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he was like, bro, I'm in Bucharest next month, and now I'm here. I'm like,
Oh, so you just
damn.
met each other?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
I'm like seeking this adventure life, like you say in the book. Yeah. That's the reason why I want to see you again. I want to tell you, man, it's good.
That's what, my inspiration when I was 19, I didn't follow it for years, but finally I did, was Casanova. He had, he didn't go from ATM to ATM. He didn't have any medical insurance.
Yeah.
He didn't have, he went with his trunk and, and he went one way to Warsaw into Paris and all these places. And he just followed wherever the wind would blow and trusted that by doing that and keeping your eyes and your ears open and your mind completely wide open, things will align the way it should be. So, and he did his whole life like that.
Yes, yes. That's interesting. I also told Philip, because he's thinking about still studying or dropping out, on the edge. And I told him, there's no wrong decision, right? You can just...
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
There's no wrong decision. Just follow your gut, follow your heart. Life is short. One of these days you get cancer.
Yeah, right.
So follow your heart and live a life. And I used to not say, I used to be careful and not say, well, you should quit the job and because people have responsibilities, right? But now I think you should quit the job. If the job is sucking your soul,
yes,
it's not something that is aligned with what you want to be. You should quit it today.
Yeah.
And figure it out later.
Yeah.
You should quit it today. Seriously.
Yeah. And then it grounds you again, this experience of figuring it out later. And I can figure it out later. I can.
Yeah, roll the bowling ball and see if it hits something later.
Yeah.
But roll it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We're always trying to make sure that everything's all lined up and everything's in place and we have all assurances,
Mm-hmm.
But nobody had assurances 300 years ago. 300 years ago, guys would go into a wooden boat into the sea. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't call mom to send money.
Yes, right.
And they had no bank machine to go take out some extra cash.
Yeah.
They didn't have medical insurance, so they got their hand cut off. That was it.
Yeah.
You hope you healed.
Yeah.
So in all of history, we never had all this, and now we have to have everything all lined up and make sure that it's all.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep this video too long because I know you don't have a lot of time today, but what would you say, is this the one thing that will also help guys to be better with girls, like this groundedness, this seeking adventure?
Seeking adventure is the greatest thing you can do to have the kind of eyes that looks at the world with a certain perspective. Mm-hmm. It gives you some kind of
edge,
gravity.
Yeah, gravity.
And people look at you. They look at you and say, "There's something about that guy. I don't know what it is." Because you've seen some things, because you scared yourself.
Yes.
Because you went through the fire. You scared yourself. I don't know what I'm gonna do next, and I'm nervous. I'm scared, but I'm doing it.
Okay.
That flood of energy and emotions. And stuff, it charges you and it changes something. Minuscule in you that people can detect and say there's something about him. He's been through the fire. He's like,
Yeah, that's a good one.
Too safe.
That's a good one. So just the last thing, it's a question I got from one of my friends, Giancarlo. Shout out. He was asking about, he's into healing child trauma.
Who?
My friend Giancarlo, not Carlo from Zurich, but another guy.
Okay.
No, Carlo. But also shout out to Carlo, of course. Thank you.
Hey, Carlo.
And my friend was asking about child trauma. What's your opinion? Should you work on healing your child traumas?
No.
No?
No. I think that there's, if there's someone who's been really, well, let me be careful how I say that, because counseling is good, careful counseling, but everything nowadays is we use our childhood as an excuse. Mm-hmm. There's never been a happy childhood in all of history in any culture. Think about it.
True. Yeah.
You think of it, from China to Germany to Switzerland to Canada, there has never been happy childhoods in all of history. All of our grandfathers and great grandfathers, mother couldn't feed herself because she had to feed the kids. Fathers dragged off to war. Sister died of a childhood disease. migration and persecution and and famine, right? There's never been a happy childhood or an easy childhood in all of history, in any culture. We're the first generation that has to go and resolve our childhood. We're the first one that has to go, well, I can't live a life I want because my childhood trauma keeps me small.
Yeah.
Everybody had childhood trauma, and the difference is they went into the world and built the Taj Mahal and built cities, and
Yes.
people, men and women who had childhood trauma.
Yeah.
They got on it, they put the childhood away. As the Bible says, when I was a child, I spake as a child. Now I put it away. And they went into the world and they built the society and the cities and the inventions and everything we have today. Those are broken childhood people.
Yes.
The difference is we blame and we sit here and it's all about me, and we take medication and we need counseling and therapy to get out the childhood. Nobody had that in history, and now we have to.
Yeah.
So
it's like an excuse to stay in the victim mentality. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So last question before we end: if you what's your number one advice for young guys in their 20s? Just like life advice in general.
Well, I think what we've been talking about here is if the Persian poet 2,000 years ago said, before you go to your work in the day, take your musical instrument off the wall and play it a little bit. I'm guitar, so and then go to your day. And if your day, where you're going for that day, the work and whatever you're doing, does not have the same musicality as what you had that morning, then leave it. And that's the greatest advice.
Yeah.
Stop. Our parents expect this. I want you to be an accountant because I was an accountant. I want you to do this, and you're going to let the family down. There's no such thing. You have to live a life. You have to live a life of relevance and energy and empathy and respect and giving out to the world something, to make the world a better place. What exists because of you?
Yes.
And if you can't answer that question, what exists because of you, you should seek to try and answer that.
Like David Data says, penetrate the world like you penetrate your woman, right? Kinda.
Exactly. How can you penetrate a woman if you can't penetrate the world?
Yeah, no.
How can you?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You're just passive, and you let the world happen to you. You let women happen to you. Oh, I don't know what happened. This woman came home and she had sex with me. I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
It's passive.
Yeah.
Same thing with living life. I got this job,
Yeah.
but at least it pays the bills.
Yeah.
Same thing. Men have to move through life. Young men, this is my advice. You have to move through life with the same thrusting energy. That's how we're created.
Yeah. Love it.
We're created that way. We have to thrust into the world. We have to penetrate the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not sure, we just go.
Exactly.
Awesome. I would say that's a perfect message at the end. Thank you, Zan.
You're welcome.
Where can people follow you?
Well, I'm on zanperrion.com, and I'm on arsamorata.com, or as you know, our philosophy is arsamorata, ARSAMORATA.com.
Yep.
It's fake Latin. Means the art of beauty. And buy my book, or go to alabastergirl.com, and I'll send you a book. You just pay the shipping, and I'll sign it and send it to you. So.
Thank you. Awesome. I will put everything in the description below. Follow this man, read his book, and better even follow his advice and live your life, man. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, brother.
Awesome.